am back. The screaming has stopped. So anyway, back to the reading. Really quick, one thing I want to cover are understanding now that we've had this huge conversation about land acquisition and it being taken away, but it continues to this day. And one thing I want you to recognize is that, again, when we talk about institutional racism, sometimes things are very like covert. We might not recognize it depending on where we come from, like what our ethnicity or race might be. We might not recognize it. And so one of my friends, and this is my story that kind of shocked me recently that I didn't know happened. My friend went to Georgia, I believe it was Georgia, and while she was there, she talked to her mom. She's like, "Hey, let's go swimming. There's got to be like a public pool somewhere." And her mom goes, "Nope, there's no public pools. They've all been filled with dirt and paved over." And my friend was shocked, like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Yes. After desegregation, a lot of people," I say a lot of people, I don't know the distinct way of saying this, but um, there were city parks and recreation centers that were filled in. The pools were filled in and paved over because they didn't want Black people to be swimming in the pools. Because of desegregation, they got rid of the public pools. And to this day, there still aren't public pools in the neighborhood that she was visiting. And that shocked me. And I didn't believe her. And so that's why you have that reading in there, because I could not personally fathom that being a thing. And it is a thing. And that's this idea of, you know, when we talk about race, it's important to understand what it means that not everybody has the same equal opportunity for things. And so if you wanted to swim, you had to have a pool in your backyard, or you had to be a part of a club, right? Like one of those types of clubs that didn't allow people of color. So, it's important to recognize these things and go, "Ah, that's really fucked up," and go, "What can we do to change it?" Also, there's other ways where there's segregation by design, meaning how communities are formed or how schools are placed. They even talk about in the Bronx, there's a whole decade of fire, and there's trauma behind that because a lot of people who lived in these areas where they were being burned blamed themselves for these, communities being burned down when these fires were actually set intentionally in order to develop over these homes. Okay, so there's a lot that you can research on that. Again, you can use that as like a research project, like, what do you mean decade of fire? There's a lot to it. There's actually a video that's out there too, so that we can understand that what has been taken place, even if it's like gerrymandering when it comes to voting, that there have been institutional ways in which people have been either segregated, their rights have been taken from them, or any sorts of these things. The first one I do want to show you in this would actually be the Tulsa massacre, and this was back in 2000 and I think 17 or 18 that I'd first heard about it and was like, how have we not been sharing this? And the cool thing is I see it a lot more. There's a lot more videos. There's a lot more information on it. And I will share that with you in just a minute. But let's just be mindful of all these things. And again, none of this is for to shame anyone or to make anybody feel guilty. It's just our opportunity to go, I didn't know. I had absolutely no idea that pools were filled in after desegregation. Like, to me, that's still shocking and upsetting. And it just makes you kind of go, what do we do now? What can we do next? What's our next thing? And so I'll have you watch the Tulsa massacre, and then we are going to go from there.